The Laws of Ascension, Chapter 15, Rewards. Now is when this gets risky. I can't lay any traps for the women. I want to save my potions for the first hunting party. But if they spot me coming and signal for the hunters to return, Lorik thinks as he walks. He stops outside the camp and looks at it. He sighs before carefully making his way to the tree closest to the camp. He climbs up it and crawls along the branch. As he gets close to being above the camp, a beastman notices him. She howls while pointing toward him. She's one of the ones roasting meat, not one with a bow in hand. The others all turn and look before seeing him. The ones with a bow draw them and take aim. Before they can lock on him, Lorik jumps off the branch. His soul sword appears in his hands as he lands on the beastman that noticed him. He stabs his sword into her neck as she crashes to the ground under him. Blood sprays out as he pulls his blade out. It splatters his clothes and face red, covering up the mud. The other beastman by the fire charges him. She bares her claws and opens her mouth, showing her fangs. Lorik steps to the side, avoiding her claws as she tries to cut his face. He pulls his blade back before thrusting it into her stomach. They fall to the ground as he pulls his blade out. 2 down, 3 more to go, Lorik says aloud as the 2 with bows run around the fence. They patrolled outside the fence so they couldn't rush him. The fence walls are full of spikes and it's topped with thorny vines. They run through the entrance as one more beastman runs out of a tent. They're the last one and are holding a bundle of spears. They roar upon seeing the other 2 dead and blood on Lorik and his blade. They drop all but one of the spears. The beastmen raise it and charge him as the other 2 draw their bows. Lorik tosses his sword at one of the beastmen drawing their bows. His sword goes straight through their eye, embedding itself through her and coming out the other end. She falls and drops her bow as the one with the spear gets close. Lorik jumps back, dodging both the spear and the other's arrow. 2 magic circles appear behind each of the beastmen. Wolf heads appear out of them and bite down on the remaining 2 beastmen. Blood sprays out as the wolf heads easily bite through their fur. Lorik cancels the spell before they bite them in half. The one with the spear survived, but fell to the ground. Lorik finishes her off before collecting their bodies. Just as he finishes storing them, a loud defeating roar sounds off from the front of the camp. The 5 beastmen hunters who left earlier returned. They drop a dead deer on the ground and glare at Lorik. Each one's eyes are full of rage. "Who?" "Man," one of them says, startling Lorik. "You can talk?" Lorik replies as the beastman raises his spear. The other 4 take off, charging him with their spears ready. A sword appears Lorik's head and he jumps 2 levels. Now that he's an 8-tier lesser mage, he jumps to a 6-tier lesser mage. The knowledge of a new spell comes to him almost instinctually. "Beast roar?" Lorik says, causing a magic circle to appear behind his head. The 4 charging beastmen all trip over themselves as their souls are shaken. Lorik pounces on them, stabbing the first in the back of the head. He pulls his blade out as they start getting up. "Beast paw!" Lorik shouts while raising his left hand. A magic circle appears around his elbow. The rest of his arm gets enveloped in a brown, ethereal claw. It's covered in see-through fur, and his fingers are covered with sharp claws. He slams the paw down onto the second beastman. Blood sprays out as his paw cruises the beastman's back and internal organs. Lorik jumps back as the other 2 swing their spears. Before they charge him again, he takes a red potion out of its green ring. He tosses it toward the other 2 beastmen. One of them thrusts their spear out, shattering the glass bottle. The red liquid inside lights up brightly before blowing up. "Bo? Om?" the first beastman says, still standing by the entrance. The explosion hurts the beastmen but doesn't kill them. Lorik tosses his sword at one, with it landing in the beastman's neck. He sprints forward and grabs the spear from the first hunter he killed. He picks it up and thrusts it into the neck of the last hunter. Before the smoke clears, he stores their bodies and blood in his ring. The last beastman looks at him with rage-filled eyes. There's a trace of intelligence behind them, but the rage takes over. He charges Lorik with his spear held high. A blue watery energy covers his spear during his charge. Lorik summons his soul sword and braces himself. He deflects the beastman's spear away. The beastman runs past him and trips over the other spears. "Beast roar." Lorik shouts, shaking the beastman's soul again. The beastman falls to his knees before Lorik impales his sword into his head. He pulls it out before storing the body and looking around. That's all 15 of them. Lorik thinks before smiling. Hunt successful, he shouts before reaching out. A boar he hunted earlier appears from the mist. He took it out of his brown ring and starts butchering it. Time to celebrate with some freshly butchered game. He thinks before humming to himself. Still covered in mud and blood, he uses his soul sword to cut the boar. It takes him a few hours to fully process it, but once he's done, he stores all but one chunk of meat away. This time he stores it in his red ring. Everything from the clay pots of blood to the bones gets stored away. He starts a fire using the beastman's fire pit and roasts it on it. He breaks off a piece of their fence to roast it on. As soon as it's done roasting, he takes it off and starts eating. After taking his third bite, he jumps up and summons his soul sword. As he does, Cyrilda walks into the camp while looking around. She's wearing the same uniform as always. "The hell happened here?" she asks while looking at Lorik. Her eyes widen as soon as she lays eyes on him. "I hunted." "What are you doing here?" he asks before taking another bite. "Your time for your task is almost up. Today's the last day, so I was getting worried." She replies as Lorik checks his bracelet. He has several messages from Cyrilda and the rest of his team, but he checks the date first. As Cyrilda said, today is the 12th and last day he can turn in this task. "Crap, crap, crap," Lorik says before wolfing down his meat. He rips it off the stick to shove it into his mouth using his bare hands. "Take your time. I can teleport us to the task center," Cyrilda says before he slows down. Lorik quickly finishes eating before walking over to her. "All right, if you would," he says before she just looks at him expectantly. "Master," Lorik adds, causing her to smile. A magic circle appears under them, and the world around them changes. They appear outside their dorm room. "You should change first," she says, causing him to look down. "No, I'll do it later. I'd like to shower anyway," Lorik replies before walking to the task center. Cyrilda just sighs before following him. She's curious to know about what happened, but she can't ask yet, as his bracelet might see that as her trying to help with his task. So until he turns it in, she has to wait. The two enter the task center together. As soon as they're in, all eyes fall on them. But it's not because of Cyrilda, it's because of Lorik. He's still covered in mud and dried blood. He's barefoot and wearing his old worn-down clothes. He walks up to the task counter, a counter similar to the one in the trading hall. But this one is used to turn in tasks. But other tasks can be completed and turned in with your communications bracelet. The woman behind the counter looks nervous as Lorik approaches. But seeing Cyrilda next to him, she calms down. Even if she doesn't recognize her, she recognizes her martial uniform. "Welcome, what can I help you with?" she asks. "I'm here to turn in a task, the urgent beastman one," Lorik replies before holding out his communications bracelet. "Are you okay, sir? Would you like me to call a healer?" she asks hesitantly. "Huh? Oh no, this isn't my blood. It's beastman blood," Lorik replies before the woman takes his bracelet. She scans it using another stone device. A green light appears, confirming that the task was successfully completed without any outside assistance. "All right, would you please go over the details for me? The reward varies depending on what you did," she says before Lorik explains what he did these last 12 days. He goes over everything, from tracking them from the first clearing to stalking them from trees. Even how he hunted every animal he could to keep their hunters away. Cyrilda just looks at him with more and more shock as he gets on. But when he says the last beastman spoke and used blue energy on his spear, both Cyrilda and the woman are shocked. "You're sure that the beastman used a blue energy to cover his spear?" the woman asks before Lorik nods. "That means it comprehended a law. But given how you said it spoke slowly, it must have been in the early stages," Cyrilda says, explaining what happened and how it could talk. "You also took the bodies, right?" she asks. "Yeah, I plan to sell them after this," Lorik replies. "Make sure you explain that the beastman used a law. Its body will contain trace amounts of it, making it more valuable," Cyrilda says. "Right, but as for your reward, I'll need to go speak to my supervisor. Would you mind waiting here?" the woman asks. "Sure," Lorik replies before the woman thanks him. She apologizes for the delay before running off. "Lorik, what level do you think you are?" Cyrilda asks. I'm 8th tier, aren't I? Lorik replies, only knowing since he jumped up to 6th tier earlier. No, you're a 7th tier lesser mage now, she says, surprising him. Really? I guess that was the best hunt I've ever had. But I didn't jump to being a 5th tier earlier. I must have become a 7th tier after slaying the beastman, Lorik says, thinking aloud. There's a beastman dungeon past the edge of the Evergreen Woods. If you're interested, I can show you. Cyrilda says, causing Lorik to shake his head. I can only comprehend my law while hunting, not fighting beasts. The reason I leveled up must be because I was hunting the beastmen for so long. Lorik replies before the woman comes back. Thank you for waiting. I've confirmed your reward with my supervisor. For completing the task and slaying all the beastmen, your reward is 10,000 points and a complete detailed map of the Evergreen Woods, minus the Deep Woods. The woman says before Lorik's bracelet vibrates. She had already handed it back to him. What does a detailed map mean? He asks, wanting to know what's on it. It's good and expensive. It marks the location of all dungeons as well as their level recommendations. It'll also mark any places known for their monsters or various plants. What's more, it'll be updated every 2 weeks. So if any new dungeons are discovered or new monsters pop up, it'll let you know. Cyrilda replies before the two leave. They make their way to the trading hall next.